I've been real happy with his work ethic and his development lately. I think, again, he played the whole game and had a solid game for us last week.
Do you think that was one of your better games out of your offensive line?
In some ways, yes. I've always taken the deal that it's a process, it's improving. Statistically, it was definitely one of our better games.
In what ways are you resisting saying yes?
Well,
besides the final score.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest way. Our number one goal is to go win the game. And stats are nice and all, but the stat that counts the longest goal.
Any thoughts on why the Rigsby brothers appear to be your most penalized members of the line? What is it about those two guys that appear to?
I think a lot early on, and Jordan, he's a young guy. He's a very fiery guy. He's got a great future ahead of him. At times, you got to slow him down, which you'd rather do than the other way. He's only a redshirt freshman, so some of that, I think the penalty has been pretty balanced. I think we've been better as the year's gone on. We started the year off, as you guys remember, having some bad ones. Now we had a couple last game and a couple we overcame. Can't say what I want to say, so we'll just leave it at that.
I'm sure you can.
After watching the film.
Talk about Bridgeford's play and what he's shown you in practice, given the first team reps for 2 weeks now.
Yeah, Bridge is like I've said all along. I mean, he's a student of the game. He's a worker. I mean, he studies film. His consistency, his knowledge, all those things is top notch, and you've seen that. I think again that leadership starting to come out of him now that he's been in that role and being able to take it and kind of lead those other guys.
What do you expect out of the Oregon State defense that he didn't see a week ago?
Well, this is from Oregon's defense. I mean, they're comparing the two. You're asking me. There are a lot of differences in these two defenses. These guys, they have some scheme things that are pretty sound, and they just execute so damn well as a defense. These guys do a great job coaching them. They don't try to trick you as much as they just try to beat you in the one-on-one.
Getting back to Bridgeford, both you and Jeff constantly said how he prepares, student of the game. I haven't heard anything about his actual playing ability.
Yeah, I think.
Why don't either you or the head coach talk about him as a player? As opposed to this.
It's like saying she has a nice personality, but
no, that's not what I'm saying. I don't think it's that way. I've been there. He's got a great arm. He's got a great vision. He's got a great feel for the game. We need to go give. If you're talking about what a goal, I think as our staff would be, is for us to go give him a chance to really go shine and do some things.
That's right.
For us as a staff to really give him a chance to go shine and have a great game. And I think he's very capable. He's got the vision. He understands the offense. He's got the arm, the throwing ability, all those things. We just need to go play. So in no way did I mean it as a negative. Those are the things when you think of them that jump out at you.
Was the difference between his play in the first half and the second half primarily that you were trying to catch up in the second half?
I think there's a little bit of that. I think, Oregon's defense did a very good job against us in some ways too. So, the hard thing for a quarterback is they get too much blame a lot of times when they get,
he seemed efficient and composed in the first half.
Very composed.
And then the second half, he had a couple picks, and
and then one was the Turner was a screen, and if we would have done this different, we would have done that different, and we would have slowed that nose guard up a little bit more before.
You're supposed to let him through, but not quite that fast.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of those things.
It seemed that in the beginning of the game, running inside, really the A and the B gaps was working. I think there was a series where EC ran the same play 3 times over left guard and wound up scoring on the third one.
Right.
What caused you guys to go maybe to try to go to the outside? Was that to try to get...
It's always, and even those plays that you're talking about were actually read plays where he's reading the defensive end first, which could go outside. So a lot of them are kind of built to where the defense gives us the hole. That's actually a wide play that when you're talking about where, but their defense was flowing so quick, and even the inside D tackles were flowing so much, everything was coming back inside, and we found the soft spot, made great reads and made great run. We didn't get away from any of that in that deal. We're always trying to kind of keep those guys off balance a little bit defensively. At times you got to go execute. You miss one block.
But isn't there also a sense of, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's working. Stay with it.
Oh yeah, we did. We very much did.
Are you saying they reacted differently to it? and
Yeah, I
closed off those
think
holes?
yeah, they reacted differently, or one guy missed a block here, and then all of a sudden, you know, and that kind of throws you off track. It's pretty good when it's all clicking, you know. But you gotta, in the game of football, they're not all big runs, and they're not all big passes. You gotta overcome the other ones.
Well, rainy weather expected to be a factor in your.
Oh, I think it's always an issue, but we'll see. It's going to be wet, but we practice for being wet. I mean, we use, you know, that's not an excuse. That's nothing. We prepare for that. So
The strength of what you do on offense most of the time seems to be your run game. That seems to be what they're best at defending. Is that
they're
your strength
very,
against their strength?
in a lot of ways it is, and they're very, like I said, they're very personnel-wise, very stout, very physical defense. You know,
Are they similar in style to what Stanford does, as opposed to?
no, you know, Stanford's more of a 3-4 team. This is more of a 4-3 team. You know, they're very. You know, they got good stout. You know, they have 350-pound D tackle in there. You know, they're very stout. They're very. They're hard to do some things against just because of how they play and how efficiently they play it. You know, you don't catch these guys making any mistakes. They don't gamble. They will bring pressures. They will change things up, but they don't gamble and put themselves out of position.
What are you seeing out of the freshman offensive linemen, guys like Cochran and Kapoor and Steve?
I think they got a great future. I really do. I've been real happy. You know, we have all the recruiting rankings and this and that, and to me, you know, I always like to take the recruiting rankings and look at them 5 years later. I think that's the true test of recruiting. But I'm real excited about that group. I think they're extremely hard workers, smart young men, have all the physical tools. You know, how they develop. Freddie is the one that we didn't redshirt. He's been playing some a little bit more every time. I think that group's got a good future if we keep going the right direction.
Do you envision Cochran as a starting center next year?
If you asked me who the starting center was the first day of fall camp, I would have told you I don't know, and it ended up being Schwenke all year. So I'm not, you know, we'll find out. We're going to put the best 5 guys we can out there.
That's good.
All right.
Thanks as always.
Have Clancy up there.